Welcome to the Smarter Science of Slim, the scientifically proven program where you eat more and exercise less to burn fat and boost health.
Eat smarter, exercise smarter, live better. I am so ready for that.
Hey everyone, Jonathan Bailor back with another bonus Smarter Science of Slim podcast. Delighted to share today's guest with you. She is an inspirational woman whose passion for supporting individuals is evident by her professional work, but I also have personal experience with it. Lindsay, who we'll get into more here in a second, has a special place in my heart because back at this point, probably 4 or 5 years ago, when that which is going to be the calorie myth is now the Smarter Science of Slim and was actually called, never said this before, Hot, Smart, and Healthy was the tentative title. So it's been through an evolution. Lindsay was a fervent supporter and a wonderful champion for myself personally to help me pursue a passion of helping others be healthy and fit. And she also does that on a mass scale, inspired by a wonderful story. And that's why I wanted to share her wonderful story with you today. And as you can tell from this lovely introduction, our guest today is none other than the delightful Lindsay Vastola, who is the founder and CEO of Body Project Fitness. And she's also the editor of the industry magazine, Personal Fitness Professional. Lindsay, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jonathan. It's a pleasure and absolute honor. Thank you for including me in this great series.
Lindsay, your story is really unparalleled. I've talked with a lot of people and never heard someone with quite this visceral and almost paradoxical story. Can you just take us back in time?
Wow, that's quite an introduction. I've got some big expectations to fill. Well, it all started in terms of fitness. I was born in California, raised in Hawaii. My father was in the restaurant business. But he played college football. He was the one who took me into the gym when I was 12 years old, and we did our first set of dips and introduced me to the squat rack. And there was that sense from an early age of that sense of accomplishment. And I loved that feeling. And I was an athlete through high school, did everything from cheerleading to rugby and everything in between. And when I was looking to, what am I going to do in college? What's my career path, if you will? Growing up in Hawaii, the Japanese economy was a huge part of the Hawaii economy. So I studied Japanese in high school and college. And I thought that, well, I have this background and I loved international, I loved politics. And I said, well, I'm going to do something bigger and better, quote unquote, than doing anything fitness related, if you will. And I'm going to do something bigger and more important, like international politics. I used to, in high school and college, I worked in athletic training as well. I was a student athletic trainer. I got to work at the Hula Bowl with some of the now amazing football professionals. And I loved that exposure. And then also working with women in rehab or women and men who had hip replacements and seeing them being able to walk again. It was so fulfilling. But, as a misguided 18-year-old, I wouldn't say misguided, but, you think of what's the bigger opportunity. So I went to school in Washington, D.C., to American University, and I majored in international politics. And while I was studying, I lived in Japan for about a year and a half. And one thing that was always central, I was always acting. I loved the gym. I loved working out. I loved the science of, okay, well, what can I do to feel better or make this look different? Both my brother and sister have type 1 diabetes. So from a dietary and nutrition standpoint, from the time I was, 5, 6, 7 years old, the importance of how food impacts your life and how you feel was always a part of what really just made me, and my psyche growing up. So when I came back, graduated college and met my now husband from New Jersey, I said, well, the most logical place to move after Washington, D.C. is New York City. So I moved up to, this is, girl from Hawaii, West Coast girl, moving to the East Coast. And I started working in Manhattan. And I worked for a fast-growing, really high, work hard, play hard type of company. I commuted about 2.5 hours each way into the city and back. I traveled internationally and I loved it. But the challenge no longer was, okay, well, how can this challenge my career? It was more of, how can I keep up with this lifestyle? I wasn't going to the gym. I wasn't working out. The extent of what I was eating was literally a jar of peanut butter in my drawer that if I remembered to eat, I would take a spoonful because I was so busy at work. And it was so cutthroat, deadline driven. And I really got sucked into this vortex of, you stop taking care of yourself. And it was amazing to me to then see how that impacted my body, and really how stress and not taking care of yourself, those long-term repercussions. So fast forward about 7 years of working in that corporate atmosphere, I very unexpectedly quit. That's a whole other long story. But I said, you know what? I'm young and I have the energy, and it's so easy to get, again, sucked into that vortex of commute in, travel, work, you sleep with your BlackBerry. Nothing else really exists. There's no balance. And I said, if I don't get out now, 20, 30 years from now, I'm going to really regret it. So I left not having really any plan, if you will. My husband and I were getting ready to be married, and we were paying for this, big wedding. And I said, you know what, if there's any time for me to focus on what I think I'm really, may be cliche, but what I'm put on this earth to do, it's right now, and I have to just do it. So I studied, I got my personal training certification, focused on education, and I just started my personal training business. And the women, my clients, were primarily that I seemed to most align with and attract were women who were working professional women. That whole sense of work-life balance was really challenging for them. But I felt like here's what I need to do. I think this is where who I align with again is women who think they have no time for health and fitness. And what are the tips, tricks, and strategies that I can give them that still gets them results? Because we know that when we're taking care of ourselves, we're a better mom, we're a better wife, we're a better employee, we're a better business owner, a better entrepreneur, whatever it is, we're that better self because we're taking care of ourselves. But how do we do that? And that's the challenge that I found. So I very quickly found myself with, I was working more than I was when I was working in Manhattan. And I said, okay, there's something to this. So I moved from one-on-one and went to group training. And I found, I do women-specific programs. And I think where the X factor of what I bring into my business and sort of what my mission and bigger vision is what are those lifestyle changes? What are some of those, it's great. I can give you some fantastic exercises that are going to help you lose weight. And I can give you a quote unquote diet plan that will help you look a certain way. But at the end of the day, what are the core changes that need to change in our mindset, in our daily life? And not just from a, okay, now be motivated, but what are some tangible tools that I can give them that will set them up for success? So I've really created sort of this following of these success-driven women, whether they're stay-at-home moms or career women. It's that mindset that really I think is the bind that ties all of the women who I tend to be, that I feel that I attract most. So I then, just got further involved in the industry. I have a women's boutique fitness studio where, again, a lot of what we're focusing on is the fitness, but it's really those lifestyle changes. And that's where I think I've really been able to kind of find my happiness in this industry and being able to impact so many people. I hope that answers your question in a little bit of a long-winded way.
It absolutely does, Lindsay. And it's interesting to look at your life and personal experience as a bit of a microcosm maybe of what you're trying to do with others, because you mentioned during your story how you made a massive lifestyle change yourself. And one thing I'd love to dig in with you is this metaphor of throwing your backpack over the wall. There's a parable, which is there's this person standing in front of this seemingly unscalable wall, and they're like, how do I get over this wall? How do I get over this wall? And they have a backpack with them because they're a traveler. It's really all they have. Everything they have that's important is in the backpack. And one day they're just tired of hemming and hawing, and they take the backpack and they throw it over the wall. Well, the next day they figure out a way to get over that wall pretty easily because there's no other option available. And you talk about in your practice making these lifestyle changes, making these mindset changes, which will then enable us to figuratively throw our backpack over the wall. I mean, that's what you did, right? You said, I have this awesome high-paying job. You could follow the traditional path of corporate success, but instead you threw your backpack over the wall and said, I'm going to do something different, something that's going to make me healthier and something that's going to make me happier. What have you found to be these practices that help busy, type A driven personalities throw their health backpack over the wall and take back control?
Absolutely. That's such a great analogy. I love that. And that's exactly that feeling of, okay, well, everything that I know that's comfortable and safe, I've got to just throw over that wall. And every person will hit that point. And as women in particular, we tend to be all or nothing creatures. I'm going to work out 7 days a week. I'm going to wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning and work out 7 days a week. Well, here's the truth, obviously, is that life happens, right? We have kids, we have meetings that come up, we hit traffic, everything is going to come in the way. And week to week, our life is very different. When we start looking at our life in almost like smaller, we look at the big picture, but what are the small actions that we need to take? You've heard this, I'm sure, Jonathan. It's, what's the definition of insanity? It's doing the same thing over and over and expecting something different, expecting different results. So I see so many women who are just treading their wheels because they get into that mindset of, I have to work out every day. I'm going to wake up and work out every day. I'm going to go to the gym every day after work. Or I'm not going to eat. And then, of course, just physiologically that our body screams a lot louder than even our mind does and says, wait, you need to eat. And then unfortunately, if that 3 o'clock hit the wall and you're not craving chicken and broccoli, you're craving sugar, caffeine, junk, and carbs. So what I have women do is one of the tools that I find that I've sort of kind of fine-tuned because it was the way that I found if I organized my week, my day into very tangible, actionable action items. When we feel that we're productive and organized, that's what decreases stress, right? Stress is just that feeling of things that are out of our control. And if we focus on the things that are in our control and have them very tangible action items, that's what's really going to motivate us because it's that pen to paper, right? Crossing it off the list. So one of the tools that I find most successful with the women that I work with is something I call an accountability calendar. If you're familiar with a tickler file, I don't know if you're familiar, where secretaries, the way that they used to organize things is they would take, each day had a folder every day of the month. And if a bill came in, they would put that folder or that bill in that folder and it would be taken care of. But they knew once that day came up, they would then tend to it instead of having a stack of papers sitting on their desk. And for most of us, it's that stack of papers. It's, I've got to work out. I've got to eat well. I have to take kids to soccer and dance. And we have this stack that's so overwhelming. Instead of breaking it down and looking at, I take a desk calendar. I'm a big fan of pen to paper. There's plenty of apps. You can use your calendar. You can use your Outlook. And I like Sunday night. Sunday night is a good night for me to just sort of recap, okay, what do I have going on this week? And let me set out those goals each day. So I'm looking at my calendar on Sunday evening. Okay, Monday morning, kids don't have to be at school until later. I don't have any early meetings. So I'm going to get in a 45-minute workout before work. Mondays are always good days too because we're generally more motivated. Tuesday, you know what? I've got meetings, early. Kids have practice until late. I'm probably not going to get in a workout, but I'm going to try to go for a walk during lunch. Wednesday, I can get to the gym in the evening. Thursday, you know what? I'm going to take off. Friday morning looks like a good morning. But you see how it's more practical because it's week to week. Give yourself enough flexibility because we know week to week our schedules are they're variable, but enough accountability that's very manageable, it's planned, and it's purposeful. And when you do it with purpose and you're very methodic about it, that's going to set you up for success. So you can do this for your exercise. You can do it for your work, for your career. Instead of doing a to-do list, map things out. You have a big project. What are 3 to 4 actionable tasks that you can feasibly complete by the end of the day that are going to make you feel like you have been productive and not just busy? I always ask my clients, I say, how many days do you leave work, or at the end of the day, you say, I was so busy today, but I felt like I accomplished nothing. When you feel like you have accomplished nothing, it just perpetuates this feeling of, being unmotivated. Well, I'll just start it tomorrow. I'll start it tomorrow. Whereas this tool of this accountability calendar really helps you see those action items that are going to set you up for success. I hope that makes sense, and I was able to illustrate that well. But that's one of I think the big takeaways a lot of my clients find really helpful.
Having that accountability calendar seems like it would really resonate with these type A, very career driven and just results driven people, because it relies on the existing mental model of investments. Like you understand that if you invest some money today, that it will pay more in the future. And what you're describing here, one could see as, if you invest even 30 minutes on a Sunday night, you will literally get the ROI, the return on the investment, will be 5 to 10 more hours, like a 500 to 1,000% boost in results you're able to generate that week. And that seems like a pretty solid ROI.
Absolutely. And there's something very, like I said, it's what causes us stress. And most women, when I ask this, we create a lot of our own stress. And it's really breaking out what is in our control and what's out of our control. That's another tool that I use. I call it our control list. Put it by your bed, because we know that the moment you put your head on the pillow, it's not when your mind should quote unquote quiet, right? That's when, like the whack-a-mole game at the fairs, right? The thoughts come up, and once come up, you hit it down, another one pops up, and it could be everything from, I got to email this person tomorrow, or, I'm so upset that dress didn't fit me from last year, or, my boss, he treated me this way, and I'm so frustrated, I don't know how to respond. And there are things that you can control, and there are things that you can't. And if you put that on pen on paper, and you put literally in one list, what do I have control over and what don't you have control over? I don't have control right now that dress doesn't fit me, but I do have control over the fact that I can wake up tomorrow morning and get a 30-minute workout in that's going to make me more productive throughout the rest of the day. So it's just changing that mindset, and it's a whole paradigm shift, and it takes practice. It's not something that's just done overnight, but I find with these tools, you said it was type A, somebody who's very results driven, and that's me. That's why it works for me. But I find that it's a good way to just keep ourselves accountable. But you hit the nail on the head. The return on investment of feeling like you're being productive, the results are just multifold.
Lindsay, you have your fitness studios, ever growing. You're doing a lot of things on the web. What's next for you, both as an individual and also in your professional capacities?
Well, personal, I have a 17-month-old, so it's a constant. I know a lot of women are listening to this, and when we talk about that work-life balance struggle, and but really trying to be purposeful. So when I'm with my family, I'm purposefully with my family, and when I'm focused on my career, my business, which is something that just really fulfills a passion of mine, that I'm purposeful there too. And I think that that's a real lesson that as women we need to learn, that it's not necessarily about having it all, but maybe just not all at once, but being purposeful. So that's always sort of front of mind for me. In terms of what's next for Body Project and for me personally and professionally, I see the Body Project. I see this vision. It's bigger than me. It's a movement. It's a movement of success-driven women doing things just beyond the four walls of a fitness studio. It's retreats, it's workshops, it's seminars. I do a lot of corporate training. So I go into companies. Again, I come from that corporate background, so I feel like I resonate there, and I really, really enjoy that. So a lot more speaking, small workshops, seminars and retreats, and just continuing to be an advocate of this industry. Fitness, especially I'm very fortunate to have my position with PFP Magazine, and I get to meet some of the most amazing fitness professionals who are making a direct impact on health every day, from kids to seniors and everybody in between. So I'm really fortunate to be a part of that, and I'm excited to continue to be involved with that as well.
Well, excited to see what you do, Lindsay. You certainly have a wonderful track record and a great heart driving you in that right direction. So thank you for all that you do to help others live better. And thank you for sharing your time with us today. I loved hearing the story and love these practical tips.
Thanks, Jonathan, and good luck with everything.
Listeners, I hope you enjoyed this wonderful conversation as much as I did. Our guest today, Lindsay Vastola. You can learn more about her as an individual at the website with her name, lindsayvastola.com. Also, you can learn more about her business, Body Project Fitness, at the website bodyprojectfitness.com. Always the pragmatist. I love it. Listeners, again, thank you for joining us. And please remember, this week and every week after, eat smarter, exercise smarter, and live better. Chat with you soon.
Wait, don't stop listening yet.
You can get fabulous free SANE recipes over at carriebrown.com.
And don't forget your 100% free eating and exercise quick start program, as well as free, fun, daily tips delivered right into your inbox at bailorgroup.com. That's BAILOR group.com.